So I saw some people asking me, what do I think about Gaza? I did talk about it sporadically here and there, but I've decided to dedicate a video talking about what I think about Gaza, and I want to start with, what do I think about the Gazans? Well, I did a video about Amalek, just like about 5 minutes ago. That reference to Amalek came up several times when talking about Gaza. So I do recommend watching the video on Amalek to see and to try to understand what the Israelis mean when they compare the Gazans, Hamas. The politically correct version would be saying Hamas to Amalek, but in reality it's Gazans to Amalek. I'd recommend watching the Amalek video to understand what it is. But here is a short. The Amalek people were famous for not working, not being productive, not being innovative, not doing science, not working their land. They were known for getting their money by stealing. And the way they liked attacking other people was always attacking the weakest links in society and behind their backs. So basically children, elderly, women, things like that. But of course not women that actually have like uniform stuff, just like, I do recommend watching this video. Before you get mad, saying, how can you say that? Because all you have in mind is the commandment that was given to the Jews to wipe out Amalek. And you're like, this is a call for genocide, this is a call to annihilation. Well, there is a very big difference between what that call was and what actually happened in reality. There was also like an historical reason for what Amalek was and everything like that. Let's be real, okay? Let's be real about how deep society can delve into being awful. Let's start with the beginning. Let's start before October 7th. What did I know about the Gazans? I know that, as they are known in the Arab world, I mean, not just the Gazans, the Palestinians in general, the beggars of the Arab world. They go around, ask for money, present their case, how poor they are, how oppressed, how much they don't have anything, and they take that money and put them, of course, in their own pockets and distribute to them in a way that is very unethical, but whatever. It's their money, even if their leaders are, like the Hamas leader, are billionaires. By the way, for those who think it's just the Hamas, no, that's the expected code of conduct in Gaza. Everybody that gets money, they don't think about other people. UNRWA didn't. The small families that oppose Hamas do not do it. Obviously, the other Hamas-style organizations inside of Gaza, like the Islamic Jihad, do the same. PLO does the same. The Fatah, they do exactly the same. And even now, if you saw that Twitter, lately there was a story of a journalist or something who asked for money for people of Gaza. She managed to get $400,000 and she took them all to her own pocket. It's a cultural issue, okay? They're the beggars of the Middle East, that's how they are known here. And what's even more incredible about the Gazans and their dislike of genuine work is that they are by far in better situation than many other Arab nations in the Middle East. Way better. The life they had before October 7th, they had electricity for free from Israel because Israel didn't manage to get them pay for it. Of course, they are kings and they deserve everything for free. There is no Israeli that doesn't pay for electricity, but the Gazans, as we've learned after October 7th, there are rules that apply for everyone. And there are rules, no rules for Gazans. They actually can do whatever they want. So those sweethearts didn't have to pay for anything. But their brothers in Jordan don't have running water all the time. And their sisters in Lebanon only enjoy electricity once in a while. And then they go to them, to those who clearly are in more need than they are. And they dare to claim that they are the poor, miserable people here that need your money. And what do they do with it? They teach the most horrible things in their schools. Kids study from the age of 0, they have lessons on how to kill Jews. They have practical exams, practical ways of teaching them how to offer themselves to the gods if needed. And they punish anyone that shows any signs of unwillingness to kill Jews. Those kids that when the teacher comes and says, today we're going to learn how to kill Jews, those are all real accounts. You have to face reality, okay? This is what Gaza is like. So in UNRWA schools, of course. So that teacher that comes and say, hey, today we're going to get to experience the fun of simulating killing Jews, those kids who look unhappy about it get beaten up, severely punished for not wanting to participate in that kind of behavior. I know a lot of people don't want to face reality about what the Gazans are really like, even though there are plenty of polls that show that this is how they think. And there are plenty of videos of them rejoicing at the thought of genocide. And they're extremely happy now that Jordanians are out in thousands in the streets and are shouting Khaybar, Khaybar al-Yahud, which is a call for genocide, annihilation of the Jews. They makes them super happy. Let's put that aside. This is who the Gazans are, and nobody wants to admit it. On average, they're bad people. The more I see how they speak on Twitter, the more I see how they conduct themselves, the more I see their behavior, the more I despair about how deeply and awfully they just dove so deep into the darkness. Can they be redeemed? Let's talk. So before October 7th, my hope was that, okay, since they get provided with everything, including those Gazans, the few that actually wanted to be productive and work in high tech and things like that, would often write to Israelis saying, hi, I'm from Gaza, please help us work. At least, when they work from home, from the computer, I'd hope those are really genuine people who want to work, because those who came inside of Israel to get jobs, physical jobs and things like that, they gladly participated on October 7th, even though I'm sure that those kind of people who wouldn't do that, Hamas wouldn't give them those permits to begin with. But even now, with everything that happened, they are still very happy about what happened on October 7th. And they very much support Hamas. So tell me, what is that if not complete sociopathy of an entire population? Let's face reality, because, after October 7th, I was crying a lot for what happened to us. But I was also crying and saying that I'm angry. And I remember saying that to my Colombian friends because I was in South America. I'm angry because they are forcing us to do things that will hurt our souls, will hurt us. We don't want to kill anyone. We don't want to do it. I was crying about that just as much. As time progressed, the more I learned, the more I saw their behavior, their complete lack of remorse. I cannot. Even that feeling that it's devastating that they're forcing us to do this to them, to make them refugees. They're forcing us to evacuate them out of their houses. They're forcing us to attack. They're forcing us to kill and fight those combatants when obviously the civilian population is going to get hurt too. I was very mad about it. I was mad that they're forcing us to do it. But the more I see from them, as time passes, the more I understand where that feeling and that association and that complete despair and belief that there is no hope for that kind of people comes from. I remember reading Amalek when I was younger. I didn't understand. But now I see. I see that a society can become, across the board, 95% of men beat their wives in Gaza. This society across the board is completely sociopathic. Now, you Western sweethearts, I know a lot of you don't understand or appreciate how much work your forefathers and your ancestors, and you know what, even like rooting out things like the Nazis in Germany is part of it, worked to bring the values that make you Western to society. They worked hard for it. They fought for it. They dirtied their hands for it. And now you think and you take it for granted. You think that's natural. Do you think it's normal? But it's not normal. It's not easy. And it's not easy to maintain. Look how easily you can lose it. You could lose it. And all you need to do is to forget those values. You forget that you should not take what's not yours. Once you forget that you should not take what's not yours and that you should actually work for your stuff, you get communism. And communism is deadly. And dear West, if you continue participating in that Muslim game, that corruption is gonna turn you rotten from the inside. That kind of mindset, that kind of loss of values, that kind of lack of understanding. Can you imagine those people who go and shout in the streets and they actually can, calling for genocide, and they can actually cause harm, so much harm, and they do it without ever doing the proper research, and they're proud about not doing that proper research. Because who cares, right? They don't care that if they're wrong, the price would be immeasurable. They don't think about it. They don't have the ethics, the morals, the values to understand that if you preach for something that is wrong, the catastrophe could be immense. You see, before October 7th, I hoped that maybe the Gazans, would try to become somewhat independent, build themselves as real nation, real people, those who are really, you cannot call yourself anything if you don't have history, if you don't produce anything. You're just nothing, to be honest. It's not a civilization, just nothing, just nothing. What do I think is the right thing to do with Gaza? Okay, first I'm gonna talk about winning and what winning means and what is losing. So we cannot leave Gaza without completely annihilating Hamas, because it's not just Gaza. If you might have noticed, we have so many Arab Muslims around us that even if they are not beggars, they have a tendency to fall into the same mentality. Egypt and Jordan and Lebanon and Syria, I don't know, it doesn't exist anymore. Anyway, all those countries are held, kept alive through the West, through donations. They are not independent. The West pays, the US and everybody pay a lot of money to Egypt and Jordan, and Lebanon is in great debt. Basically, they're not on their legs. They don't have that mentality. There is a reason the Middle East, the whole Middle East, was almost completely empty before the Brits came. Only when the Brits came, only when the West came to the Middle East and started reviving that artificially, this area and this culture is being held by the West, like they're with the breathing tubes, they're connected to an oxygen. They were almost gone, and then the West came and basically saved them, but artificially so. That culture almost died and was saved by the West, the same way Israel saved Sinwar, and is now thriving through Western stupidity. But this is a parasitic kind of culture that doesn't produce anything. And if it was disconnected somehow from the West, it would die out, like it already almost died out 150 years ago. It was almost completely out. A lot of people say that, there are people in Palestine, whatever, No, I'm gonna say more than that. It's not just Palestine that was empty. Palestine. It was the whole Middle East that was almost completely empty. And there is a reason for that. The thing is, if we don't annihilate Hamas, for them that's a win, because they don't care about their own lives. They just, want to keep fighting another day. For them, this is just, Gaza is just another arm that is used to go against Israel and the Jews. The Jews are a symbol to everything ethical and Western, just by the way, because of course after Saturday comes Sunday. So if they're not completely annihilated, that's a win for them, because that arm that keeps hurting the Jews is surviving. That would only, it's not just them. There are more arms. There is Lebanon, there is Jordan, there is Egypt. The reason that they're not, they're all unproductive societies that want to go to other nations to leech off them. But the reason they don't do it in massively is because their regimes, that are oppressive and things like that and not democratic at all, they get bribe basically from the West to keep that in check. That's reality. So when Israel says this is an existential war, it means it's an existential war. I know you are asking me to show mercy for the poor Gazans. Well, I'm sorry. I have no mercy for that culture. That culture needs to not exist. And of course, the best way to get that culture out of existence is education. Saudi is trying to warn the West for so long now, but nobody listens to people from the Middle East, because the West is so much better than any of us here. So they won't listen to the Bahraini, they won't listen to the Saudis, they won't listen to Sisi, they won't listen to Mubarak, they won't listen to the Israelis. No, they know best. Well, have fun with that, because now you are starting to experience that culture firsthand, aren't you? You're asking me to feel sorry for them. Well, I don't want to kill, or I don't want Israel to kill more than is necessary. But I cannot have mercy on them, because that would mean not only annihilation of Israel, it means the annihilation of everything good, everything that society worked so hard for, that understanding that you should not loot, that you should not kill, that you should not lie. Those things were fought for decades, for centuries, for millennia, fought for. So here's the bottom line. Whatever it takes, Hamas needs to be annihilated. I don't want to kill more than is necessary. It's not the cause, But whatever it takes for Hamas to be gone, that's what needs to be done. There are 2 million people there, I understand. And I'm sure that once they lose hope, then they're gonna relax a little bit. And then the hard part will be that they need to be re-educated. As far as I'm concerned, they should all convert to Christianity. Something that would have values. And they're already religious fanatics. Maybe you need to exchange one with the other, but at least have that minimum of having values, and that would be a good start. Now, how should it be done and things like that? To be honest, I don't know why it has to be our responsibility at all. I think Hamas should be gone. Nothing similar to Hamas can replace it in Gaza. Those people need to be re-educated. Whether the world will force us to do it, which they probably will, in the hopes that we get annihilated finally, because they obviously didn't finish the job the first time, the second time, the third time, every time they didn't manage to finish the job. So the hope is that by forcing the Gazans on us with their obvious, very problematic way of thinking and ideology, then that we finally get annihilated. I get it, fine. Probably this is what we'll have to do, but they're gonna have to be re-educated. No more Islam. Bye-bye Islam. No, but it's not only enough to take away those idiotic values. You need to install and put new values in those minds, like not killing, not beating, not looting, not stealing, sharing. Things that the West had fought for decades, for centuries, for millennia. Yes, people today learn everything to TikTok, and they take everything for granted. But it's not far the day that the dose of reality will come. And by then, those who are the first to join the dark side are those who are gonna have all the power, will manage to take as many and grab as many women as they want from you and take whatever and steal everything from you. Those who join first either take everything, or like they take everything and then die young. Usually that's the case. I really recommend learning a little bit of history and psychology and doing homework, and then think hard for yourself in what situation we really are at. And when I say we, I mean everybody who carries values like human rights. Like, comment, subscribe. Do I want to hear what you think about it? Go ahead. I believe that you have to kill the combatants and then install like strict laws against Islamism and everything like that, and like fight it the way, by the way, it is being restricted in the rest of the Arab world. But there is also like a long-term job and work that you have to do of reinstating and actually teaching them values that they've never had. So that's hard. That's even harder than Germany, because the Germans historically had those values, and the people here, our neighbors, they not only they forgot their values or anything like that and then got ridiculous. No, they never had them. So it's hard work. See ya.